Welcome to Human Potential at Work, the show where we explore social impact, inclusion, and empowerment of everyone, including persons with disabilities. Get ready to be inspired, hear success stories, and learn tips and principles for bringing out the best in everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Human Potential at Work. My name is Debra Rue, and I am the CEO of Rue Global, and we are strategists and market influencers for the community of people with disabilities in the aging market. I also am the co-host of Access Chat, AXS Chat, and we had the guest that's going to come on today on Access Chat, and he just blew me away. He is very modest. He's an amazing man. I think he's extremely handsome man, and he's joining us from the UK, and he's very humble. So please take the time to learn more about him. His name is Dr. Nasser Siabi. Hopefully I said that correctly. Welcome to the program, Nasser. And I really am hoping that you'll start by talking a little bit about your journey, because I was so fascinated hearing about your journey and your work. And of course, I love that you got an award from the Queen, but we'll talk about that too. So welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Debra. I think after building me up so much, I'm just going to be like a cloud. It's going to rain down and people are going to say, oh, I'm fed up with that wet person. Please get him off. Let's focus about something more interesting. Thank you very much. I mean, it was a privilege to be on your previous show, and I really enjoyed it and had a lot of good comments come my way, which wasn't deserving, but I guess if anyone manages to tag along to your show, then people must think it must be important. So thank you for that. You've done me great service, and to be honest, as I said, I consider this as more of a privilege than rather than the other way around. So the last conversation we had, it was I guess it was about my journey, but I think it was something much more about what it gave me, as it made me who I am, which I think is more worth talking about. But the background will help for people to appreciate. I can bore everyone, so I start with at the age of up to the age of 10, I was a normal child. I mean, which is horrible, spiteful, not kind to my younger siblings and all that. But educationally, I actually was somewhere in the middle of the table. I wasn't really bright, but nor I was that slow with learning. Age of 10, 11, my eyes deteriorated to the point that I was struggling to see very clearly, especially I'd moved to secondary school. And because at that age, you don't want to admit you're not really perfect, or you want to impress your peers. And I used to sit in the back of a classroom, the cool gang, and obviously didn't really help my education. So by the age of 15, my dad was so worried about my educational attainment that I think his aspirations about me eventually becoming a doctor, like he expects his 5 sons to become doctors, engineers, was, son, I need someone to be a cashier for my shop, so don't worry about it. I mean, bless his heart, he was the most amazing man. He did everything for his children, and I'm glad to say we all became doctors in our own right. And to learn that he had no education when he grew up. He worked from the age of 13. I know it's child labor these days, but those days was survival in Middle East. He actually brought us up in a very rough area, moved to a much more affluent area. He did that by being a working class man. And I think he said to us, don't expect a penny when I die from me, but I will do everything to make you educated so you can stand on your own feet. And trust me, that was the best lesson in my life. It was amazing. So, I mean, I'm digressing, but at the age of 15, I was not doing very well. But I was also, because of the fact that the learning taught subjects was harder for me, because in a classroom, teacher stands in the classroom and there are 40 other kids who have to take notes. And I wasn't taking much notes. However, I was taking a lot of mental notes. So by the age of 15, I was brilliant in subjects that I could memorize. Actually, I was super brilliant on other subjects like maths, physics, chemistry, whatever that makes you an Iranian person motivated to be a doctor, engineer, and rich. it completely blew me out of that kind of a career path. So I thought, okay, I'll become, I don't know, become a poet. I couldn't even read and write properly. So anyway, age of 15, I was sent abroad to have a treatment for my eye. And I kind of stayed here because there was some political turbulence, which we all hear about these days. I went to college because I had to, age of 16, you can't just be out of education. And I started with basically no ability to communicate in English, but I kind of thought at least I'll start learning. And it was a very small classroom size because they categorized people on engineering and science or English-based subjects like law and human sciences. I couldn't do that because obviously they won't let me. Sciences, I had at least some sort of a familiar experience in history. So I went to the science. Because they were also categorized A, B, C, they put me in group D because I was so bad in it. And with another 4 other people who also were equally bad, I sat with 5 people. We sat in this classroom. Day 1, the teacher came in and started from basics. Okay, we can count from 1 to 20.
Wow.
I thought that's easy. I know that. And then he says, by the way, 9 plus 6, so-and-so, Peter. He said, 12. I said, sorry, 9 plus 6, 17. I mean, it was that bad. So I thought, no, I know that one. I know the answer. But you know, actually that completely gave me a confidence that at least I know my brain works. And gradually I realized it's not to do with I can't learn. It's just that I wasn't being taught properly or I wasn't supported properly. And within 6 months, I actually moved to the top of the class and they moved me to another class. And then I became just normal like anybody else. And move on, fast forward another 3-4 years. I went to university, did engineering, electronics, and then went to did my master's and then did my PhD. And the PhD subject was on a very complicated subject of solid state physics, statistics, and electronics. Now, this is something that if you look at combined, it's an extremely hard area to be in. For someone who was failing by the age of 16, and quite frankly, life is that way. People get written off at the age of 15, 16 because they can't do what they are capable of because the system decides they are not good enough. Had I not had that encounter and that fortunate kind of a change of events in my life to end up in that classroom, probably would have been maybe a cashier, you know, maybe I would have been very rich, much richer than I am today. But nevertheless, it actually gave me that opportunity to learn and to make something of my life. You know, that's my philosophy in life. I can't accept anyone is not capable of doing something good and you have to support them to do it. So that's really what formed the ethics and the ethos of what I do. And for the past 25 years, I focused on helping a lot of disabled people in education, in universities in particular, to succeed in their life, in their career. And I'm proud to say, within the past 25 years, it's a scheme that is expanded beyond recognition. When I got involved, there were about 500-600 students a year were getting that support. It was a government grant. It's called Disabled Student Allowance. So it provided technology so they can overcome the impact of the disability. 25 years ago, very small, no one had heard about it. When I got involved, we got really much more organized. And today, somewhere like 60,000 students a year get that help. Still half of the people who are entitled to it. So I think the fact that the scheme is running very smoothly, very efficiently, we have made a contribution to that, and I'm proud of that. And I think we have collectively, within just Microlink, we've helped more than 250,000 of those students to graduate.
Wow.
The government did a research about 2-3 years ago that they showed those who get that support, same condition, and those who don't get that support, there is a 5 to 6 percentage point difference in the attainment, so in the degree. Now, translating in dollars and cents or pounds and shillings, hundreds of thousands of dollars extra income for the government over the lifetime of that individual as tax. Because you have people who could actually become greater if they manage to get past that mark. And if you don't, you stay and do very low level jobs. Interesting, I have a colleague now who used to be a very senior person in the central government in UK, and his first meeting I had with him, he introduced me to his colleague, and I thought, this is a great guy. Someone introduced me, and I was quite honored that we meet this Director General. He said, well, guys, come here. You need this man. He's a wonderful guy, and I really, have so much respect for him. I said, he doesn't know me. He's how is he gonna? I said I was waiting for him. So sorry, I got the wrong person. He said, my son is dyslexic. He went to university, and one day he came back and said, Dad, I've got to buy this equipment. And I looked at it. It was the head of IT by then. The father said, I looked at it, I said, that is extortionate. That's so expensive. Why are they? This is a ripoff. 3 years later, my son came out of university with a top honors degree. Now he says he's now the chief designer for all the cafe bars for a major multinational company. And he would not have done it if he didn't have that degree. Now that's actually one example of how many people's lives have changed with that. Now, I'm not going to get credit for that because quite honestly, there's a lot of other things happen in life for a person like that to succeed. But I have always said, I may not change the world, but I'm helping a lot of people who are changing the world. So that's my pride and joy that I get. So when I want to sort of go back in time and say what I got out of my condition, my disability, one was that issue that everyone is capable. Everyone needs support. Everyone needs to be helped to build their confidence. Once you're confident, you can jump from a big height. If you're not, you will not even want to get out of your seat. So that's the difference between success and failure. And confidence comes with ability to perform a job you want to do. And that always comes down to simple tools. If you can't have the right tool, you can't do the right job. You can't dig a street with a spoon any more than you can actually do a microsurgery with a blade or with a saw. So you need to have the right tools to do the right job. And when I was doing my doctorate, I knew what I wanted to do, but it involved a lot of work in the lab. And working in the lab is, especially in a microelectronics environment, it's very sensitive equipment. Precision has got to be there. You've got to be, have the right dexterity. I kind of damaged some equipment without telling anyone. They often wondered, what happened to that microscope? It's not working. Not realizing the day before I was trying to bond some tiny micron-sized wires to the pad, and I crashed the microscope to the surface. And obviously, that's sensitive. You need to replace those tiny sensitive heads. But I kind of realized, no, here's a talent. I know what I want to do, but the 10% of the work that doesn't really reflect who I am is going to stop me. Okay. That's what happens in a work environment. I'm really good at analyzing. I'm an economist, but I'm blind. I can't see things. The world wants what's in my head, not in my eyes. So what I would need is somebody to tell me to be my eyes. So when I realized I was causing more problem than fixing, instead of giving up, I started forging friendships and trying to get people to do things for me. And of course, by that, I formed good friendships, good community. And unknown to me, it actually helped to de-escalate a bit of a competition, which is very intense in a research environment. People want to be playing the cards close to the chest. But when you ask people, can you help me on this one? The fact that you acknowledge you are weak in some areas and people do offer that help, it actually helps others to realize, hold on, this is more of a cooperation rather than a competition. Right. And when you have disabled people in an environment and others have to rally to help, I find that it improves the place, the workplace, and everyone become a team, a community. And that's what disability brings. You always want to feel you've helped somebody disadvantaged. That is a human instinct to help others who are weaker. But if you try that, that energy into negative, you always want to start killing each other, which we want to go over. So I think I learned one thing is the power of making friends in order to achieve my goal, it was far more positive, not just doing the job I wanted to do, also help others to see life differently. I managed to do everything I wanted to do a lot faster than most non-disabled colleagues. Because in my case, I mean, if you are somebody who's got to do a particular task and you only know how to do it, you walk, it's a baby step, you learn it. However, if people realize you can't do a particular job, instead of you learning something which may not be that important in your future plans, they'll do it for you. So you actually skip some of that basic learning skills. So I kind of realized getting people to help me actually accelerated my goals. So something that others took about 3 months to do, I used to do it in about 6 weeks. Wow. It improved my research capability. I used to publish papers with the results, and if the results didn't really work out, I did another experiment. 6 weeks later, I used to have the results, and that was just quite impressive. Now, you know, that's, again, it's a learning in life that you always, if you acknowledge you're not strong in something, you have a deficit, there is somebody out there who has the skill to fill that gap, will come and help you and makes you both good. So that's
right. Let me ask you a couple of questions. And first of all, you know, congratulations to your amazing father. Does your father still live in Iran?
He does, and he refuses to come here because he still sits in his shop and chats to his customers. And they love
right, him. Right. Those are his friends. That's his community. So,
absolutely.
You know, good for your father, right? Raising 5 sons, and they're all doctors. That's very impressive. It's very impressive.
No medical doctors, we're all like PhDs.
Yeah. So what? They're doctors. Yeah. So that's really amazing. And so I wonder, as you're telling your story, was it because of your disability that you weren't learning? I mean, I thought it was interesting when you made a comment that you really weren't being taught in the right way. And I think that often happens. I think that we put people in school and in educational situations, and we just assume everybody is going to learn exactly the same way. I look at my son, is he's very good at learning. I forget it, auditory learning. He can listen and look at the board and he can learn really well. But my daughter, she cannot do that. Now she has Down syndrome, but I also learned differently than that. And so I found that my daughter had to work so much harder to learn that she actually got much, much better study skills than my son. When my son got into, my son would not appreciate me saying this, but when he got into college, he almost flunked out the first semester because he did not have good study skills. He just did not. And when he went on academic probation, he was stunned because things had always come to him so easily. So I'm fascinated with, but I also, one thing that I want to try to understand, my experience as a mother, a parent with children in school, of course, is in the United States, my daughter having a disability. But so I think one thing that I often felt in the United States when my daughter was in school is that sometimes quite a bit she was babysat instead of learning. And so I think it's interesting that in the UK, you have these different schemes that support people with disabilities to help with the deficit so that they can be successful. So, and I think that we do that in the US, but maybe we don't do it so as deliberately as I see happening in the UK. I don't know if that's true, but it sort of depends on where you are in the United States, and even not even which state. Like I'm in Virginia now, but I grew up in Florida, but it sort of depends on the county, the local. So I was just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on some of those points.
Well, you put your finger on lots of important issues here. To me, I've been in this area sector for 25, 26 years. And I look at problems and say, wow, they are simple to fix. If you can join the dots. there's nothing complicated, but the world is complicated. You know, getting everyone to see the world through your lens is not easy. And I can understand, I appreciate that. That's why visionary people in life could actually go out, set out the stall and say, this is what we should do. This is what we should go and discover new land, new territories, new ways. It takes a lot of convincing to others say, yeah, I'll come with you. And that's, I understand why that is difficult. But going back to my early years experience, well, my parents are typical of today's parents after 40 years. I'm having the same conversation with parents who say, well, my son is not really that academically bright. I should find him a job, you know, vocational job. And I said, well, you don't know that. The fact is, when they went to school, like my case, my biggest problem, the deficit, was I couldn't see very well. Because I couldn't see very well, I couldn't take notes. Because I couldn't take notes, I couldn't revise. Hence, if you don't know something, you go and say to the teacher, look, I've taken this note, I don't understand it. The fact that I wasn't taking notes, it meant that I couldn't go back and ask questions. So, you know, that's where it starts. But with time, you lose your confidence. You think, I'm not catching it. These guys are way ahead of me. So what should I do? I sit in the corner. I try sports so I can impress them. Or I could try to do like memory tests because I was getting so good at it. I actually memorized the entire book and did it word for word. I mean, now this is one of the coping mechanisms that people with disabilities come up with. When I did my college, I had to do physics, which was 2 volumes of huge, big, thick, that big. And clearly, if you don't speak the language, you don't understand the full meanings, you have to paraphrase. And I was basically writing word for word of what the book said to a question. Whether it was the right answer or not, it was irrelevant. But it was word for word. So I did a multiple choice once, and there was something like 150 questions in it. So we had to remember some of it so we could write it down so the teacher could keep it for the year after. I remembered 90% of those multiple choice questions because I had that such a good memory. But as I said, it wasn't because I had the right answers. I knew what they were. I could write it down. That was actually what helped me to get through my initial years. But then when you grow and you go up to the next stage, memory by itself without doesn't help you. So you find your foundation is not as strong as if you were taught properly. So in our education, we start kids who have that deficit. And as your daughter quite rightly can claim that I have to struggle. Your son says, I can hear things, I can learn it. You know, I have a daughter, she's beautiful, she's bright, very intelligent. And if she's studying and if I even drink a cup of tea, oh my God, you're driving me up the wall, please stop that. You know, you're irritating me, the noise is too much. Yet she can't study without music. So she's got the music in her ears and she's actually studying and she retains information. Some people have a different learning style. In a classroom, you don't have that freedom. A teacher says, I'm telling you this, you write it down, you go home and you revise. If you don't know how to write or if you don't know how to read, you have problems. So if a teacher doesn't give them the right tool to remember the content of the message rather than the presentation, then you find that that kid can engage. And if you don't engage the first few days or few months, later on it's too late. And you've progressed without the foundation, you're going to fall back. So I think that's where I come back to this joining the dots. I'm talking to people in the government level down to the CEO level and chairmen and chief executives of big multinationals, down to practitioners, down to school teachers, and down to parents. The message is always the same. Regardless of what you want to do, there's got to be a right tool, the right training, and the right confidence building. That 3 principle applies to disabled and non-disabled people, except disabled people have a different set of tools. That's why I think the world is much simpler if you simplify the problem rather than putting people in a pigeonhole, saying you are disabled. We don't want to offend you, but just sit there and we'll come and help you.
Right. It's all about charity. I agree. And that's why I think that your work is just so interesting. And tell our audience more about MicroLink, because I think a lot of people might not, some of my audience might not know what MicroLink is. And you're the CEO of MicroLink, so, and the founder. So
Yeah.
tell us more about what MicroLink is and what you're doing.
Of course, it's an advantage. People don't know me, so they know that I'm not exaggerating. Okay, so that's the best part about it. I have a passion for philanthropy. I love helping, and later on I learned the Arabic meaning of my name is helper.
Oh,
So,
that's funny. So your dad knew. Your dad and your mom knew.
He had no idea. He wanted after a Persian king, and he chose that one randomly. And I often said, "Why that?" You know, it's not anyway. But I think I absolutely love helping people, regardless of what. And I get involved in a lot of things because I feel when you have a passion and you have a mind of an engineer, problem solving, you think you can, you know everything. But I kind of sometimes maybe shouldn't be dabbling in things I don't understand. But it doesn't stop me. Because I do, and my passion needs to be fed somehow, and that feeding is being business and money that I generate. So MicroLink was set up with my business partner. He's dyslexic. So if you imagine dyslexia, and we say they go terrible in directions, and people who are visual impairment, they lack vision. So somebody with lack of direction, someone with lack of vision, hey, you make a perfect partner. So we put our effort to something that helps people and makes money. Isn't that the best combination?
I think it's a wonderful combination.
Right. And then I think, again, come back to he's an incredibly clever guy. He's a dyslexic, but he did aircraft engineering and all that, but he also went to the finance sector and made a lot of money in 1980s, but nobody knew about future options and all the rest. But when we got together, we're humble. Both of us started absolute 0 point. 500 pounds, which is $600 per person, started a company. And I think that the pleasure we're getting by helping those disabled people is one thing, but both of us saw an opportunity. Here's a problem, and the solution is very simple. So when we put those two together, I'm surprised people haven't actually followed in that sense. We did that in education, we've done that in workplace, and right now we're moving into the post-employment, where elderly people and aging population need help even in living in the living environments. We can apply the same knowledge, the same experience, the same principles. So I think what we pioneered 25 years ago is as valid today and as lively today as it was then. And that's why MicroLink's ethics are. We want the people who work for us have lived the experience of disabilities. I'm not looking for perfect people, because nobody's perfect. And soon, if they are, they will not be soon, because that's the way that human frailties. So whatever we do here, they have to believe in the mission, and they do. That's why we got a lot of people long-term with us, and all the new people who come here, the first thing they say, we love the mission. We love what we do. Even if you don't know how to do it, if I don't even like my boss being me, I still like the company, I still like what we do. So MicroLink is going out helping lots of global companies with their workforce with disabilities, again, finding solutions in the right tools. And we also help education. And my goal is to go to US, Canada, and other countries and hopefully share our experience and try to do what we've done in UK, which I think it's a gold standard when it comes to helping disabled people in both education and in what is really joined up thinking in their own little areas, but we need to join those even further. And I think there's a lot there.
Before, so tell us what MicroLink does, because I know what you do, but I want to make sure the audience knows. And I know that we usually stop at the top of the hour, but let's just go a little bit longer. We had a few technical problems at the beginning, but only because it's really, really amazing what you're doing at MicroLink. And like you said, it started working 25 years ago. And because it's logical and it's a solution to problems, and it's really focusing on, I mean, our brains are such amazing things. Like you said, your partner dyslexia, you have vision loss, and you put the two together and you create this brilliant, amazing thing that has helped so many people find their own voice and their purpose and what they can contribute. I just think nothing's more important than that in the world. So tell the audience more about what you actually do at MicroLink.
MicroLink is a company, is a provider of a solution to people's health and disability condition to find the right tools to eliminate, reduce the impact of their condition. So if you are visually impaired and your employer wants to employ you, they ask us to come and say, okay, this is the job they want to do. They have that impairment, find a solution. So we find a piece of software for him or some hardware for him to do the work, train him how to use it. So that person can contribute to the employer rather than just be a token presence of I'm disabled, so they've employed me. Everyone we help, they are expected to do a job like anybody else, anyone else who is working in that employment. There is no concessions. You may make some extra provisions in some areas, but you expect to get it back from them somehow. And what we've proven, you improve the absenteeism by 90%. I mean, you reduce it by 90%, improve productivity by up to 50% for a lot of people, and you increase the loyalty and staff turnover is definitely reduced, and the retention is good. So there's a lot of financial reward. So our job is to go in, if there's anyone with any condition doing a job, we assess whether they require an intervention and what that intervention should be, and we help to implement that intervention. Whether it's technology, like assistive technology, whether it's a chair because they have back pain and they can't continue their work, or whether it's even having a vehicle adapted to get to work if they're wheelchair users. All that we can help employers to do. And in education, again, if somebody wants to do a degree in some what they are good at and they think they want to have the future in, we identify what solution exists in order for them to participate in that subject and to succeed. That's really very quick promotion of my career.
So you focus on helping the human being be the very best person they can be in life, in education, and employment. How novel is that?
It's called talent management. It's not disability.
Yes.
It's called getting more out of your people than you currently are getting out of people. And that's why I say it's common sense. Joining
It is common sense. It is. And I think that we often do complicate it. I remember when my daughter was in middle school, and my daughter was born with Down syndrome, so she's an intellectual disability. And, we were really being pushed to get her to work. And I'm like, well, she's not reading. So could we educate her before we get her to work, in a Wendy's or a McDonald's or something like that? Because reading and writing, that really allows you to participate in society in a more powerful way. So I think there is still a lot of work to do. And that's one reason why your work just impresses me so much. And
how's about for example, your daughter's case, right? I mean, I always focus on people's abilities and actually completely ignore their disabilities. What is it you want to do? I mean, the journey into employment starts, I like to do something, I have the talent to do it, and I'm desperate to get the opportunity to do it. You give me the tool and the training, right? Now, put the non-disabled person in there. Well, how's that different? So the first thing, do not talk about somebody's disability if they can do something better. We are talking about autistic community, hugely underrepresented in the employment market. Now, they're not good at everything, but they're brilliant in some things. So why give them a job they're not good at? Teach them the thing, train them, mentor them, make them confident they think they're good at, and they do it all day long, no complaint, no whinging.
And they love their job.
They do. And your daughter the same. If she can't read, but the job itself is not heavily on reading, here's a computer technology software, then read it for you. So you want to read a menu, hey, here's a piece of app on your mobile phone free of charge. If you can't recognize a color because you're colorblind, by the way, there's another app for that. These are the things simple things in life that technology offers, and we should utilize it. Hence, I find that we will empower a lot more people now that the technology is caught up. So I agree. It's going to be millions.
And also, I think we have to consider how each of our beautiful brains work. So I could say I struggle with depression and anxiety and, things like that. But typically I wouldn't be considered a person with a disability. But when I was in school, I was in the band and I would memorize. I'm still a very good memorizer, like you are, very good memorizer. But I went and I became a programmer. And I got good at it, but I hated every single second. I hated it. I hated it so much. And so finally I realized, this is not good. I like doing other things. And so I started working on things. I became a system administrator where I can help solve people's technical problems. And so I think we need to do a better job for all people of really understanding what they bring to the table. Like you said, their abilities. What do they want to do? What do they like to do? Like your daughter, she can listen to music and it helps her concentrate on her studies. Really understanding how each of our brains work, including people with autism. Their brains aren't broken. They have these beautiful brains that can add great value to society and the workforce. Why don't we just train them based on the way their beautiful brains work, right?
Yeah, well, it's. I think I'll give you an American example because you're over there. And if you're playing baseball, you have a pitcher, you have a catcher. You have a brilliant pitcher. You don't want them to be a catcher. You want them to go out there and knock him out. And the ones who are catching, you want to actually, out. So you don't actually expect to give somebody who's got talent in an area to do a job they're not good at. Now,
No.
I totally agree with you about I got bored. I got bored with science because there were brilliant people around me. And I felt I was just lucky to be there. But I applied what I'd learned in communication, in dealing with people, and applied it to an environment where it made me money. And that's, it's nothing wrong with making money. What you do with it is what defines you. And I think that's what I find in life is that I can get a lot of people to do what they are passionate in by giving very tiny changes into their life and the life of their employees. So one of the things that I find we're not getting across very, very well, and I think we should work on that, is to empower and educate those line managers, those people in control, the charge of the destiny of these people under their care, like teachers. If I said to a teacher, you have a classroom mixed with all these abilities, and if they can't read, doesn't mean they can't go to the next level by having assistance in reading and be more independent. And if you can't write, again, the same. What you want to do is to make sure you take the entire classroom with you. Some might be better in some areas, but you don't leave anyone behind. That's what you don't have to do. And here's the technology. Right. And the line manager, the same. There are people there who are motivated, they're passionate, they have a purpose in life, which is I want to work, I want a rewarding job. What you do is you say, okay, what is it you can't understand, you can't do? There is a person out there who could help us to get that for you. Hence, right. If the line managers know there's a solution, they won't block it. If they don't know there's a solution, they say, look, he's a troublemaker. I don't want in my team. Bring me somebody else who is not defective. I need someone who is better. And unfortunately, we have too many people who just don't want to own a problem because they don't have a solution. And I think hopefully we give them that solution, saying, BRS, we will help you with anything that needed. All you need to do is just manage people like you're paid to do. Manage.
I agree. Just do your job and let's include everyone. So Nasser, tell the audience how they can find out more about you, your website, your social media, and expect an email from me as we talk about bringing MicroLink here to the United States, because we really could use your services. So we appreciate what you're doing in the world. So tell people how to find you.
I am, but MicroLink is microlinkpc.com. That's MIRCROLINKPC.com. Social media is at Nasser Siabi, which is NASSERSIABI. And MicroLink, we got a lot of blogs and videos and help. I'm glad to say that we will be in US and Canada very shortly because some of our global clients want to provide the service across their full entire workforce. So luckily, US and Canada is first.
Yeah, good.
Language barriers are not there, and also much more closer to the UK. So yeah, I will be there very soon, and probably as early as this September, we'll have a rollout on one client. And also Canada is quite interesting for me. Yeah, we'll be there soon.
Yes, good, good. And I'll be sending an email, but thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate Doug Forrester, our producer behind the scenes. And today we have Jeanette doing a wonderful job with live captioning. So thank you to her too. And Nasser, thank you for changing the world. We are all very grateful. We're very grateful for your work.
I'm blushing already, but I'm wearing pink salmon, so you can't notice the difference. Thank you as well, Debra. And you're a wonderful hostess. And obviously, I now know why people are nervous to be on your show.
You're so funny.
You're an awesome person. Thank you very much again. And thank you, Doug. You have a poker face. You haven't changed everything.
He always has a poker face. Okay. Bye, everyone.